So, typically, when we refer to ego, right, in the West, we are mostly referring to things we don't like, right? So, I don't know, selfishness or arrogance, or I mean, and maybe even a lot of times we're just specifically referring to arrogance, right?
Somebody
Um,
being cocky.
yeah, right. If you, um, does that feel true? Like, typically, when we talk about it, we're talking about some kind of
It's a negative
negative
connotation.
characteristic. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. But that's not ego's not an entity. It's not a thing. Yeah. Um, what we refer to as ego, like, actually at its core is an idea around a separate sense of self. Now that's technical in ways, but the what ego is actually referring to is the dynamic of always attending to the past and the future. So when we attend to the past or memory, well, that's the character, right? Like the experiences we've had, and And as a reminder, the only reason memory comes back around for us is to be integrated, processed. Once that occurs, now we can there can be a habit of focusing on past things, like we call it nostalgia or whatever, but this has habit really. But it still represents something needing to be integrated into our current experience, right? Meaning our attention needs to be integrated into the current experience rather than the memory, right? And so, and if you can um reflect on the way the future operates in us, it's also the character, right? It's always the character in a situation or something. So what we call ego is actually related to our tendency to go into the past and the future. At its core, that's what ego is referring to. That's just not super familiar with us culturally, right? So ego essentially is a lack of presence, is a way of talking. So that's one. I just wanted to refine that
So
word.
did the definition of ego just get hijacked?
No, it's just when Freud in the 20s used it, and the way he this is going to be a radical generalization, man, but you can imagine all these internal like pistons working, all these forces and opposing forces, and you have the superego that's like conscious and our conscious social norms, uh and then you have the id, which is all instinct and desire, and then in the middle is the ego mitigating between both of those things. These unbridled desires and then these social norms, and the ego, that's sort of how Freud talked about it, right? Like a mediator between all these internal forces. But the idea of a separate sense of self, that has been talked about throughout human history. That's not so the term ego just got distorted in a way, and uh, now we don't. It's not. We just sort of use it, but we haven't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about or contemplating what it is we're referring to. You know.